everyone. Thanks for joining us on After GMS. It is Friday, September 30th. I'm Tracy McCain here with meteorologist Christian Morgan and Megan Malaris.
Good morning. We are tracking this storm as it continues to cause devastation. Ian has left Florida, now heading our way. We are all on guard for potential power outages and some isolated flooding.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, over the last 24 hours, if this is your first update since yesterday morning, a lot has changed in the way of our wind threat increasing. Our rain threat, of course, still remains, and the speed of this storm is actually increasing too. Right now, about 150 miles southeast of Charleston, South Carolina, offshore this morning, as of the latest update from the National Hurricane Center at about 5 o'clock. So sitting offshore, the center of the storm is, but spreading wind, spreading rain across South Carolina and North Carolina now, with light rain falling all across the Piedmont. You even see a couple little pockets of heavier rain down to our southwest in the Charlotte area, and we'll see more of that as we go into the middle of the day and into the afternoon. So Ian moves ashore as a hurricane and then races on by, crossing the Carolinas later today through tonight and moving away from us as we go into your Saturday morning. So it likely comes ashore later today as a Category 1 hurricane, forecasted to have 85-mile-per-hour winds when it does so. Now, landfall likely, based on this latest track, is going to be somewhere from Georgetown to about Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Now, with the latest track from the National Hurricane Center that we'll get here in just a few minutes at 8 o'clock, with that northeastward movement, it may shift this track just a little bit. Nonetheless, there's not going to be a whole lot of change of where it comes ashore. Hurricane warnings in effect for South Carolina, tropical storm warnings in effect for the coast of North Carolina, and those do move inland as well, covering most of central North Carolina, including central South Carolina. Yes, the Triad is included in that because of our high wind potential later today. Storm surge of a few feet also going to be an issue along the coast of South Carolina and in North Carolina as well. Let's talk about our wind. Winds have been at least bearable this morning on the order of 20 to 30 miles per hour. We've had a 31-mile-per-hour gust just a few minutes ago in Winston-Salem, gusting to around 33 out at PTI this morning. But as we go into the middle of the day and especially into the afternoon and evening, we're really going to see those winds ramp up. 40 to 50-mile-per-hour gusts through the dinner time. Through several hours of this, likely we'll have some trees down and some scattered power outages across our area to keep an eye on later tonight and heading into early Saturday morning. Rainfall kind of works the same way. Light at first this morning with no issues, picking up in intensity, and those pockets of heavy rain, those more intense rain bands heading our way as we go into the evening hours. Really, again, from about dinner time, evening commute time, through bedtime tonight. I think that's where we could really rack up in the rain department and where we'll also start to see some flash flooding concerns popping up across the Piedmont. As far as tornadoes go, not expecting that in the Triad. We're just going to be just downright too cold for that. Temperatures in the 50s now, really won't move a whole lot now that rain is setting in for the rest of the day. This will be a chilly rain in the 50s, so without us being really warm, our tornado risk is pretty much non-existent. Now, higher risk of that as you go to our east, mainly east of Raleigh, east of that I-95 corridor. They'll have a better chance for that. Main concern for us is just going to be the high wind and the flash flooding risk. We have a very significant flash flooding risk all across central North Carolina today, extending down into South Carolina as well. Generally, expecting about 2 to 4 inches in most of our area. Of course, there could be some locally higher amounts just depending on where those pockets of heavy rain set up, so we'll watch out for that. But this is going to be a good soaking of rain for the entire Piedmont. So wind and rain, our main concerns today, and with those gusts on the order of 50 miles per hour at times, maybe a couple higher than that, I do think we'll see some scattered power outages across the area. That's one change from when we talked yesterday morning. An initial thought, I didn't think our power outage concern was that high. I do think it has increased, though, as we've gone through in time over the last day, since yesterday morning until now, just with that faster storm, with a more intense storm that's now a hurricane out over the water. I do think that we'll see some scattered power outages across our area. So here's today. Rain is light at first with no issues. Then we start to see some big problems as we go into this afternoon and into this evening. Really, this is not going to be a night where you want to be out on the roads, where you want to be out running around. I would say, by this evening, probably be where you're going to stay for the night and through early Saturday morning. You're not going to want to do a whole lot of traveling for tonight. Nasty at best, dangerous at worst as we go into this evening. Quick planner for you here, kind of lays it all out nice and neat in one graphic. Again, no issues this morning. Rain picks up, wind picks up as we head into the middle of the day. Really, the windiest and wettest time for us is going to be tonight through about midnight and really, really early in the overnight hours on Saturday morning. After that, Saturday morning, the rain will start to move away from us and taper off. The wind will start to let up too. And I actually think Saturday ends up being a pretty good day of weather. We'll keep that scattered shower chance in for Saturday because we'll have some leftover moisture from Ian and some leftover energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere. That may be enough to give us a few scattered showers Saturday, Sunday, possibly Monday. And then, after all that, we get a nice reward, nice relief at the end. We will start to dry it out for real by the time we get into your Tuesday, with sunshine coming back into the forecast, and we'll get back up near 70, even low 70s by late next week.
All right, so we will get to the other side, but as we head there, I mean, we are in for a potentially rough night.
Yeah, this is, I think there's still a lot of people, and I don't understand why. I still think there's a lot of people who don't understand that we are getting a rough day of weather from a hurricane that we've been tracking for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we have been talking about this. Of course, Florida got really the brunt of this early in the week, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. No, we're not expecting that, but we are going to get a lot of rain, and we are going to have some high winds tonight. That's a guarantee.
So yesterday when we were talking about this, obviously the storm had not headed back out over sea. We still were expecting kind of somewhat minimal impacts here. Weren't concerned too much about flooding because we are so dry, the ground was equipped to absorb that. But given the new rainfall totals you're projecting, could flooding be more of an issue now than it was?
Yeah, that's also changed. I do think our flooding concern has increased too. Once the storm moves back out over water, originally what we were forecasting, all bets are kind of off on that. The thing is, it weakened very significantly to a tropical storm as it moved across central Florida. Land, dry air is really kind of a death sentence for a tropical storm. So it was ingesting a lot of dry air, and it had land that was weakening it too. Once it moved back out over water yesterday, the water is warm. Water.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Woo, bless you.
It's that ragweed outside.
I felt that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good.
Please continue.
Tracy is okay. Once it moved back out over water, water temperatures in the ocean right now off the coast are in the mid-80s. It is like bathwater out there. And that is nothing but fuel for a tropical storm. So the longer it sits out over water, the longer it has to reorganize and intensify. So yesterday morning, this is why I say a lot's changed in 24 hours. Yesterday morning, the forecast was to bring it on shore in South Carolina as a tropical storm with 70-mile-per-hour winds, so borderline hurricane. Now the forecast is for 85-mile-per-hour winds. So there's about a 15-mile-per-hour, wind difference here as it comes ashore. And the track brings it a little closer up the coast to North Carolina. So originally yesterday the track would have brought it somewhere around Charleston. Now that forecast brings it up a little closer to the Grand Strand, which is of course a little closer to us. So we'll see stronger wind and more rain from it.
I'm seeing a lot of confusion online about the warnings that are issued. It is a Hurricane 1, Ian. Category 1 right now, but across North Carolina, if you're out on the roads, you see the signs, the DOT signs say tropical storm warning.
It's a great question.
Yeah, so what's the difference there? What categorizes one from the other, and why the difference now?
Yeah, really great question. I know that can be confusing to a lot of people. So, if you look at that map I had a few minutes ago, we have hurricane warnings that are including the South Carolina coast and points just inland. Now, everywhere else, the upstate of South Carolina, central North Carolina, the coast of North Carolina has tropical storm warnings. Reason for that being, at the point in which the storm reaches us or reaches a certain point, it's the wind potential that the storm is going to have. So as it comes ashore there on South Carolina near the beaches today, it's going to be a hurricane, and those folks are going to feel those hurricane force winds, above 74 miles per hour. They could have some wind gusts upwards of 80. For us, by the time it gets to us, the storm is weakened, likely, has tropical storm force winds. So we could see 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. So that's why we have a tropical storm warning for us due to the wind potential. And it's all based on those wind speeds.
Okay, but it is still strong enough to cause some down power lines or trees or issues. Got it.
Yeah, and you have said over and over again the categorization of these storms really doesn't matter, because once you get a lot of water, once you get a lot of wind, you have those power outages, flooding, and all bets are off.
All bets are off. Really, when we talked about it being, making landfall in Florida earlier this week, a lot of folks were saying, okay, well, it's a strong category 4. We don't want it to get to a category 5. And, I'll be honest, when you're splitting hairs between 155 mile per hour winds and 160, it doesn't make a difference. You know, the impacts are still the same. You know, still life-threatening flooding and wind and storm surge for those folks that cause a lot of destruction. For us now, the difference here is, you know, if you've lived in North Carolina long enough, you know it doesn't take a whole lot to bring down a tree or a power line when you get a lot of rain and a lot of wind. And really, for us, 10 miles per hour can make a difference around here. You know, we can handle, you know, a day with 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts. We had that yesterday. We've had that a little bit this morning. But when you talk about several hours of 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, you know, for an elongated period of time, that's where we start to see issues here.
And I think it's really important to emphasize that with this wind, we could get more widespread power outages. So if you feel like you are unprepared or you don't know what you're going to do, say you have a medical device that requires power, you need to be making those plans now. Where are you going to go? Do you have a generator ready that can assist for potentially, you know, 1 or 2 days as needed? Because, you know, the power crews, they're here, they're ready to respond as soon as they can. But until the weather clears and it's safe for them to do that, they cannot fix the power lines.
Right. You know, and I would say, you know, any kind of preparations should have already been done. But if you still need to charge devices while you have power, if you still need to put batteries and flashlights, you know, it's all a precaution. You know, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to lose power. Nobody's guaranteeing that. It's all in preparation for it. And, you know, if you don't mind getting a little bit wet, you know, the rain is light this morning, things are pretty quiet this morning, you still have an opportunity if you want to run to the store, maybe get batteries or anything like that. But after about lunchtime, things are really going to start to ramp up.
All right, that's a good warning for us now that we have a better idea of the timing of the storm. You can now plan your day and your weekend as such. Looks like Saturday night will be okay. Out at the walk, the Pink in the Park event yesterday, I talked to a woman, a breast cancer survivor. Her daughter is getting married tomorrow. She's like, can you do something? And I'm like, I cannot. But now it looks like her wedding will be okay.
Yeah, you know, and again, that's the change over the last 48 hours. You know, we've seen this trend to a quicker storm. Yes, it comes through stronger. Yes, our threats are a little higher. The flip side of that, though, is that it gets out of here a little quicker. So, you know, really by tomorrow morning, sunrise, rain's tapering off, winds calming down. And I really do think Saturday's going to be an okay day of weather. Everything will be soggy and sopping wet, and there will likely be some cleanup. But as far as weather goes, I think Saturday will be an okay day.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we've talked a lot about preparation. We know the power is out in Florida to more than 2 million people. The remnants of Ian, as we just discussed, are going to pick up here throughout the day, increasing our chances for the power outages. So our priority, keeping you safe.
WFMY News 2's Denise Miller live in Greensboro with some issues that we're already seeing from Ian, which the brunt is still hundreds of miles away.
Yes, what we have warned and the concerns and warnings that we have been putting out, we are now starting to feel some of that right now. It's happening right now here in Greensboro. This is the second tree to come down on the stretch of Lawndale Drive this morning. This stretch of road between New Garden Road and Cottage Place has been shut down for hours, and field crews are now here working to clear this tree. We just saw a Duke Energy truck come here now to go ahead and secure these power lines. So a lot of activity here along Lawndale Drive. So if you have to come down here, you want to avoid the area. And it's these strong winds that are now starting to pick up that cause these trees and power lines to come down. And we will likely experience more of that throughout the day today. So here are some very last minute things you can do this morning to protect your home. And I mean last minute. If you can do it right now, ASAP, as soon as possible. First, make sure you check those storm drains and make sure they're clear of debris. And check the sealant of your windows and doors to keep water from seeping inside. And finally, bring those the outdoor furniture that you have, bring it inside or tie it down. Emergency crews want you to know they will be out fixing any problems, but it could be a while before they get to you.
We're going to hope to do some preventative work out there that can maybe keep our drain inlets and that kind of thing flowing, free-flowing culverts to keep water off of roadways where it might otherwise have collected if it's clogged up. And then, you know, we'll have all the equipment on standby that we need to be able to respond to whatever comes our way after the fact.
Now, after the fact is the key phrase here. So you want to hunker down and stay inside if you can. Greensboro is known, of course, to have some flood-prone areas. Revolution Mill is one of those areas because it's located on Buffalo Creek. We're told that residents there are prepared. The complex installed flood panels, and residents have moved their cars to higher ground. And we do know that NCDOT has more than 1,000 workers ready to respond to any troubling conditions that take place here on the roadways. And you want to make sure you stick with News 2 throughout the day today, because we will be bringing you updates on air, online, and online as weather conditions continue to change.
All right, one more look at that 7-day forecast today. Heavy rain, high wind by the afternoon and evening. Tonight is not a good night to be on the road, okay, unless you have to. I know there are folks that do not have the option, that have to work third shifts, that maybe work in healthcare, and we are very, very appreciative for you and what you do. But if you do have the option to stay home, I really think that's the best thing to do this evening. It will, be a nasty night of weather at best, a dangerous night of weather at worst. But it does clear up pretty quickly, tapering off on your Saturday. Still left with that scattered shower chance through the weekend and early next week, but we will dry it out by Tuesday. We're back to sunshine and 70s Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, real quick, Christine said her husband works for Duke Energy. They are in storm mode right now. We know Duke sent a lot of crews down to Florida to assist there, but they did keep a large number of crews on standby here, knowing that we could get the impacts as well.
So, a huge thank you to all those folks who are prepared and ready to go.
And we hope that power will not be an issue, but we know that it could be. So just take the opportunity you have now before the worst of it gets here to get ready. I know I'll be charging my phones in a matter of minutes.
God, if I were my son, hit all the flashlights and we'll be ready.
Yep, we'll take that time today.
And I'll say this too. I know we have the Good Morning Show coming up at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
We'll have the latest for you there. But if I didn't get to your question, or maybe didn't answer your question this morning on TV or in this, you can find us on Facebook at about 10 o'clock this morning. I'll fire up another one of those live chats and ask your questions. It's really off the cuff and not real polished, but we kind of go behind the scenes and I'll explain everything there. So if you feel like you want to jump on, we'll be there.
And he has more time to go into all the science and geekdom that he possesses. So I listened to one this morning and I was just really impressed. I was like, wow.
Oh, thank you.
I felt smarter, but then I lost all of it. So anyway.
Oh my word.
Thanks so much for joining us on After GMS. As Christian mentioned, you can find us on our main channel. The Good Morning Show at 9 is on WFMY News 2 at 9 o'clock.
All right, see you soon.
Have a great weekend.